Sui crypto has been absolutely exploding towards the upside, up over 121% in recent weeks, showing no signs of stopping. In this video, I'm going to tell you just how much higher I think Sui is going to go, but I'm also going to tell you how we understood exactly in this video that Sui was going to see massive growth, the secret source behind that growth, and why there's another layer 1 right now called Aptos that is showing very similar growth structure to Sui. I think Aptos is about to explode, and I'm going to show you exactly why it will in this video and compare it to Sui and whether or not we want to be invested in one or the other. Hit the like button and let's find out how to make some money. Now guys, I made this video a few weeks ago telling you I was going to sell all my Solana to buy into Sui. A very unpopular video for many because lots of people were like, Sui's a scam, you know, it's a VC coin and there's huge unlocks to come, and I'll address all that in this video because guess what? Aptos is pretty much exactly the same. But we had that video around here, and at its peak, since then we've been up over 120%, currently we're up just 94%, which is not bad given that it's a big market cap coin. In recent times, we haven't seen the markets going crazy. So what was the secret sauce behind it all? Well, let's understand a little bit more about what we saw in Sui. We came across the DeFiLlama.com, which is a free website of course, and we found out that the TVL, or total value locked, was absolutely surging up. We saw it take this very steep bounce into September, showing that people were suddenly investing back in the ecosystem. And I don't mean people like you and me. I mean VCs, big money, because those are the people who are injecting liquidity into the markets right now, okay? People watching YouTube videos, there are many of us, and we don't have much money because we spent it all throughout this bull market so far. So the money that's arriving in this bull market right this second in big volumes is a VC money, and it's coming in big chunks through the institutions, okay? Now, we saw that a lot of the projects on Sui were starting to show big pushes. We saw Navi Protocol, we saw Scallop, we talked about SuiPad, and many people were up over 2 to 3x in the likes of SuiPad. If you've been making big gains from those videos that I made on Sui, please let me know down below. I would love to know how we've been helping you out. And if you missed out on those videos in Sui, then don't worry, we're going to teach you about Aptos in this one and future chains that come down the line. Make sure you also subscribe, okay? Then you can get involved at the right times. Then you're not asking, is it too late to buy in? Because you've already made the decision to buy or not buy based on your own understanding. Okay, so TVL is a good thing, right? It means all these projects building on Sui are also making money, trading. It's obviously important. If you want to invest in a layer 1 that's doing well, find one that has lots of projects building on it. How do we also know that people are using the chain? Well, you can click here on volume. You can see the volume on Sui has also been really impressive. Okay, you can click on Sui volume as well, which is the volume of the actual token, which has also been pretty high, up to at times $1.8 billion. But when we first picked it up, it was down here around $300 to $600 million daily, which was pretty damn good, okay? Pretty damn good considering the valuation of the token. And at the time, Sui was worth around $3 to $4 billion. And right now, Sui market cap up towards $5.3 billion. Something else that's very key behind Sui is if you go over to CryptoRank.io, you can see coming down below that Sui is actually invested in by some of the biggest names across crypto. And I know you hate this because you're like, well, there's going to be big unlocks. I made a video the other day telling you why that is complete rubbish in a bull market. Unlocks are obviously like, pay attention to them, but most of these unlocks for Sui, for example, 30% unlocks will take place before the top of the bull market is in, which will be mid next year, end of next year. So you shouldn't be too concerned. Sui's up like 91% since people were complaining about that 30% unlock. Okay, Aptos, very similar as well. Now it's really important to realize they raised over $300 million from FTX Ventures, Binance Labs, etc. Now obviously FTX is not a good one. They repaid FTX and bought back all those tokens, which is obviously a promising thing. But all of these companies, A16Z, Coinbase, they want to make money, right? And they own a bunch of tokens that are still going to get unlocked at some point. So what do these companies do? They pump more money back into the market to make the price action look attractive so that you're like, oh, Sui's going up, and you jump in because they're telling you they're cashing their money in to get you back in, okay? And if you're not in coins that aren't backed heavily by big VCs, then you probably might end up struggling. So ignore 90% of this like fair launch BS, okay? It's rubbish. You want to be in coins with big old chunky VCs behind them, particularly in the early stages of bull markets. We saw it in the past with Solana, we saw it in the past with Gala. It's so straightforward, all right? Don't get sold this BS lie that people keep telling you. Anyway, moving on. Sui has big unlocks to come, but this isn't really affecting the price. The VCs are backing Sui because it's got all this juicy TVL and whatever else. But here, guys, it's up nearly 120% in the last few weeks. Would I ape into this right this second if I was brand new to crypto? I'd be cautious. Look, it's running to these highs up here. You can see it's having a bit of a pullback. I would anticipate that potentially we get a pullback, maybe, and I still hold this, by the way, still my big bag, down to around like 1.5, 1.6. If it gets into that zone, maybe it's good for a bit of a purchase, okay? Not financial advice, of course. Do your own research, but you can see Sui's on the up. In my opinion, Sui has the potential, should the number of projects building on it continue to grow, of getting to around $90 to $100 billion in this bull market, which is like a 20x. As my biggest bag, I'd be pretty damn happy if it does a 20x. Will it do that? Potentially. Not sure, okay? But it has all the makings of a project that is going towards that and is showing that it's still continuing that direction. But if you don't want to wait and you just ape in, then guess what? You might end up in the red for a bit because it pulls back on you, okay? Lots of people do this and it's dumb. So just because I've told you that there is a chance for a 20x, teach yourself not to just ape into it without understanding fundamentally what I'm talking about. But it's worth understanding why all these projects have been building on Sui over another one. Now, Sui is a proof-of-stake blockchain. It makes it incredibly fast. In speed tests, Sui has achieved over 120,000 transactions per second, which is more than twice the speed of Solana. Obviously pretty cool. However, like many other proof-of-stake blockchains, it's not that decentralized. Okay, so a lot of projects seem to be building on these because there's fast transaction throughput and good scalability, but it does lack in decentralization. So there is an argument for proof of work blockchains that I've discussed in previous videos and we'll discuss in future videos, okay? But just for the benefit of what we're talking about right now, we're showing that Sui did well because of a few things, and that maybe Aptos can do similar things because Sui did well doing similar things. So yes, Aptos also very similar in terms of the tech behind it, also incredibly fast and incredibly scalable, but also not that decentralized. In fact, much less decentralized than perhaps Sui is, but achieving slightly faster speeds. But it's not just the high speeds that has people building on Sui and also on Aptos. It's because they use the Move programming language. And this basically is because both of these two projects stemmed from the same place. Because Facebook, a few years ago, created a blockchain called DM. Now, this blockchain failed because of regulatory issues. However, Mark Zuckerberg and others talked about how this could have been a really successful project. The developers behind this split off and made Aptos and Sui. Aptos and Sui basically both have this brilliant tech. They both use the Move programming language, which is basically fundamentally from Rust, which came about from the guys behind DM. Now, the benefits of using this particular programming language is that it's significantly easier for developers to work on. It makes it very easy for them to make changes and updates and upgrades seamlessly. And this is basically like an on-chain version of like JavaScript for off-chain. Now, I'm not a developer, shock horror, for those of you who might have realized that, but it's important to realize when you want to get a chain, it's very important that the developers are happy in developing on chain, because what you want on your chain is lots of projects actively being developed. Yes? Makes sense, right? Because that upsets the TVL, it upsets the volume, and it therefore will upset the supply and demand model, which plays in our favor if we want to invest in a particular project. So we've understood why Sui has been successful. Also, Sui has basically been angling itself as a Solana killer. Aptos has been doing the exact same. And if you come across the Aptos Foundation website, you can come through and you can start looking into some of the projects that are being built on Aptos. Some good, some not so good. Okay, and you can see all of these different projects. You've got gaming, you've got DeFi, and basically it's all these projects that are gearing towards like high scalability, through having the capability to build highly technical and intricate products. Okay, you've got Ready Player Games and a bunch of other like pretty well-known projects being built over on Aptos right now, which is important to notice. Also, it's integrated with the Pyth Network Oracle, which is a really important thing, because the Pyth Network Oracle is what Solana uses to being able to provide it with real-world data. Sui used to get its data provided from Pyth as well, but there's a disadvantage to this because Solana gets the data first. Therefore, if you build on Solana, you will get the data, real-world data, straight up, which means you then find it hard to compete on other chains. Therefore, you then saw Sui go and partner with a company called Stork so that they could use another Oracle rather than having to use Pyth. And it's important to note that Aptos has also moved over to Switchboard, giving it that advantage of having its own Oracle provider rather than using Pyth. Okay, this again is setting Aptos up as a Solana killer. This is important, okay, because it has the potential to drain Solana of some of its volume. Not all of its volume. I think Solana will do a 7 to maybe a 9x if everything goes really well in this bull market. But it's already big with like a $60 billion plus market cap. If we want to find bigger gains for big bags, Aptos, that's why I'm looking towards Sui and now potentially into Aptos. I'm not yet into Aptos though, okay? I haven't yet bought into it. So I'm thinking about whether or not I will. And I'm thinking in the next few days, I'm going to make a video about some of these projects built on Aptos. So if you want to catch that video, like we did with Sui and SuiPad, etc., where people saw 3x's, maybe even more in just a few days from the projects that we called on Sui, then make sure you subscribe to the channel to catch the best projects on Aptos. I'll run that video slightly later on this week. Anyway, lots of projects being built on Aptos, things looking good. And you've only got to come across back to DeFi Llama. Look at all these projects on Aptos. Not necessarily very big, but look at the changes in the TVL recently. Every day going up, 7-day change, 1 month change. Many of these projects, not all of them, but many of these projects are growing very, very quickly. The TVL is going up in the millions per day. This is all making perfect sense to me. Hopefully it makes perfect sense to you. It's all good, okay? Why? You got various other big news articles that are now starting to identify this, like Aptos TVL growing significantly, up 263%. Then talking about why this might be happening. Ondo Finance, big real world assets, partnered with BlackRock. USDY has been surpassing 15 million, bringing real world assets to Aptos and highlighting the realities of new innovations. Several consumer applications have been launching on Aptos. You got Overlay, Supervillain Labs, KYD, Indicating Promise, etc. Okay, maybe we'll cover some of those in the video in just a few days. But if you want to get ahead of the game, go and study that video I made on Sui, and then maybe you can go find them in Aptos before I shout them out on the video. Then you'll probably win in a very big way. So this is all cool, okay? It looks like people are using it. But what about you and me? Are people like us integrating with Aptos? Here's another way to find out. Dune.com and its Aptos chain metrics overview, and it gives us this rather handy little page, and we can see Aptos daily active addresses. And look at this, okay? Whilst it's kind of been up and down, kind of not doing that much, you can see a definite pickup, okay? A definite pickup is going on here into October. Suddenly we see this pickup to around 500,000 active wallets per day. And this is almost, you would say, obviously you've had other spikes, but you would say that this is heading towards all-time high, okay? The trajectory is going up to all-time highs. But if we look at the Aptos chart, you can see it's well down on where it was back in March. So this to me tells me that Aptos is good value right now in its current position. It's showing that lots of users are coming in. It's developing its TVL, its volume on chain. And I like the look of where this is headed. Now, again, you can see backed by big companies, and it's important to understand that unlocks are going to happen on Aptos. So we've come across to token.unlocks.app. Now, why do I tell you that unlocks are not important? They are, okay? They do mean something. They are important, but I want you to understand they unlock because VCs are holding these coins. But remember, because there's big unlocks to come, it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's really good because the VCs will inject liquidity into the market to pump the prices so that they get better unlocks as they kind of unlock. So as long as unlocks are happening, but they're not happening until like end of 2025 into 2026, we're all good. Who gives a crap? Because that's bear market. You should be out of every coin by then. Now this you can see is token.unlocks.app, and it's giving me like a little bit of data here. Quiet data. You can see I've obviously not paid for it, but that's fine. We don't need to pay for it. Don't need to waste our money on this. You can go and waste it on something else if you so wish. Okay, anyway. Here we are. You can see it's marking today as the 1st of October. It's obviously a little bit out, but that's fine. But we can see right now, we're about 400 million in terms of supply. And you can see that over time, it's going to increase up until the start of 2025. It's going to be about 400 to 450 million. Okay, which is an increase of about 20%. But the end of 2025 has us just under 600 mil, somewhere around 520 mil, which, let's be honest, is an increase of maybe 25 to 30%. Anticipating that in this bull market, Aptos goes up significantly more than 30%. I'm not going to get too hung up on that, okay? Doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's guaranteed to sell on that time or another. Who knows? Maybe it doesn't. But as the bull market continues, people will continue to hold on to these chains if they are working and operating well on these chains. But be very cautious. Once you end up near the top of the bull market, these VCs will rug the shit out of you. Okay, so you need to be out by the time these projects are nearer highs. Stop asking, is it too late to get into this coin? Is it too late to get into this coin? I've just shown you how to get in early to a coin rather than after a coin. Now guys, go and read different articles, find out more about Aptos. I haven't given you like very in-depth stuff about how this kind of works. I'm giving you it like very like easily, clearly, hopefully, to understand a little bit more about why people might be switching across to use Aptos to build their applications, in that it's easier to develop on them. But there is a lot more intricate details, okay? If you want that kind of content, go and look for it. I believe Coin Bureau does a good video on Aptos. Maybe there's a couple of others you can find. In fact, Virtual Bacon does a very good comparison between Sui and Aptos from like a couple of years ago when everyone hated both of those coins, okay? Everyone now starts to like Sui because it's been unlocked. Okay, everyone absolutely hated ICP, and now everyone absolutely loves ICP because obviously everyone hated it because it dumped, and then now the price action has been good. People love it again. Anyway, stop loving and hating coins. It's just bits of code, okay? Don't get too attached to them. They do cool stuff. Great. Invest in it if it's going to work for you. If you don't think it's going to work for you, even if it's cool, then don't invest, okay? Doesn't matter. Just use your logical mind. Hopefully you are now starting to become logical following this channel. There's other things I want to address as well. A bit of FUD circulating around Aptos. Pretty big bit of FUD. FTX, I told you already, invested massively in both Sui and Aptos. Now, Sui were very good in addressing this. Good bit of PR. Okay, they went out and they rebought all of their Sui tokens that they were holding. Okay, so FTX bought a bunch of Sui that was worth like $200 million. Sui went and bought that money back using its treasury. However, Aptos have been a bit quiet about this, like try to brush it under the carpet like it's unimportant. The biggest threat is that when FTX unlaunches, that a bunch of Aptos tokens arrive back in the market and everyone sells them off. That obviously can happen. Let's see what happens in those unlocks, which are happening later on this year. But you know, every time we've seen massive Solana unlocks, bugger all's happened, right? So I'm not going to worry too much about that until it happens. Anyway, in terms of price predictions of Aptos, Aptos right now sits with a market cap $4.6 billion, which is big. If Aptos picks up the same kind of appetite things going for it that you're getting in Sui, and these two coins continue to build momentum because projects underneath them are growing and building momentum, and continue to kind of deal with their FUD and kind of work positively through the bull market, and maybe invest in marketing and invest in like other things like that, and the VCs keep pumping liquidity into them, then there's a good shout for seeing Aptos, Sui, and a couple of other really solid layer ones maybe pulling some volume away from the rest of the market. Therefore, is it possible to see a 20x? I think Aptos does see the potential for a 20x. In terms of an entry price, right this second, you can see it has been up a couple of times in the last few days, anywhere somewhere around like $8.40. In contrast, you know, it's significantly down on these previous highs it's seen, where it's gone up to around 123%, which is where Sui would be right now. I do think that Aptos is going to follow suit, although I could be wrong, so go away and do your own research. And if you want to go and buy Sui or Aptos and receive airdrops in coming weeks for the likes of Sui, Aptos, and others, then make sure you go to the link down below and sign up for a Bitunix account. Why would you want to do that? Well, it's the easiest exchange to use. It's the exchange that I use every day in conjunction with also using MEXC. They list all of the coins that I ask them to list. So if you want coins listed, leave them down below. I'll go and ask them straight away as soon as I see your comments. And as well, you get airdrops of tokens that they list. Okay, so over a period of time, you'll continue to get free airdrops for different tokens just to say thank you for trading on Bitunix. This exchange doesn't require a KYC, it doesn't require a VPN, and it is available through the link down below in the description, and you need to use that link specifically if you want to access those airdrops. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you are new to the channel, then absolutely make sure you subscribe and you can understand with us, in very simple terms, why things in crypto do what they do and how you can make money and be the smart money above all of the people asking, is it too late to buy? See you later, guys. Bye-bye.